What's up, pros and hoes, whatever floats you go? It's Relentless here, bringing you a Division 2 video. In today's video, we'll be giving you a crash course to the PvP system, an insight, a guide, whatever the terminology that you prefer to use, but basically going over the ins and outs of the beta PvP. Now, keep in mind, certain things will change as we get closer and closer to the official launch of Division 2. Also, it was slightly leaked, possibly a slip of the tongue, as you would say, as far as a possible open beta. Look for that confirmation or it not being confirmed at all sometime within the next week. If you look at such as Anthem beta, they have their private beta, and then like a week or so later they had their open beta. So I generally think that they will have an open beta before the game officially launches, just to get more of a better understanding and to see if there's anything else that they more or less overlooked or haven't quite fixed before the actual game launches. I know a lot of you, such as myself, have submitted either footages or loads and loads of paperwork and comments submitted to Ubisoft, pointing out the bugs and glitches that we encountered. Thank you guys so much for doing that. But without further ado, if you happen to be new to the channel, ground and pound that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on post notifications so that way you know each and every time a new video goes up. And also, let me know what you think in the comments section below as far as whether you played the beta, if you didn't play the beta, what you think so far of the content that you have seen. I just want to know your general opinion, your thoughts, your views as it sits as of right now. But let's get into it. Now, in comparing Division 1 to Division 2, PvP style and tactics, we're going to hit a few things more in-depthly than the complete analysis and review that I did on the overall aspect of Division 2. And one thing you have to keep in mind is this game, Division 2, is more or less meant as what Division 1 should have been in the minds and eyes of the team over at Ubisoft. Division 2 is more tactically inclined. And what this means is you can no longer go in half-cocked blind into a fight. You more or less have to have a plan, some kind of strategy, and as the more you play, it'll become second nature to you, just as those that's played Division 1. You adapt to the surroundings, you adapt to the gunplay. You get to learn the surroundings to take advantages here and there of everything. And just basically you have to, think a little bit, and you won't have those multiple procs of Nomad, rely on any kind of bleed, such as from Pred, and things of that nature. There's a far less cheese to have to worry about and consider when formulating a strategy or game plan, either while going to fight rogues or by going rogue yourself. Another thing, all weapons are viable. Unlike Division 1, you have the House, the Showstopper, the M44, the M700. Basically, that just became particular certain few weapons that everyone used because they were that good, and all the other weapons were complete garbage. In Division 2, there are still some adjusting that needs to be done as far as when it comes to shotguns. I think Thylander has more or less hint and suggested on this. But overall, every single weapon type in the game is viable, whether it be rifles, sniper rifles, marksman rifles, ARs, SMGs, shotguns, and yes, even pistols. So every particular gear set or gear brand set that is in the game, there's one particular brand set for every archetype weapon that there is. There'll be some that the first one, if just one piece, will have 10% AR damage. Then another one will have 10% SMG damage, and another brand set will have rifle damage, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of variety and a lot of mix and matching that you can do depending on your playstyle, even more so than Division 1. So I'm exactly excited about that. And a lot of other content creators and streamers that I've seen as of late, they wanted to point out the fact of the old healing system versus the new armor plates of Division 2. Now, most of them want to say that the heals are too slow, but they're not really heals, they're not really med kits per se. You're actually repairing your armor. They're armor kits. So your armor is going to be, if not greater and more valuable to you than just your health, but you're going to need absolutely both. Because once your armor is gone, you have to rely on your health in order to replenish that armor so you can get back into the fight. And some say it's a little slower, but don't look at it as it being slower. Don't even think about the booster shot or the overheals or the healing skills in Division 1 in comparison just to the armor plate system. Look at it as, med kits. Before, it's more like in Division 1, you kind of like shoot yourself in the hip or whatnot with some kind of shot or syringe, and you have an immediate amount of health given to you from medkit. Well, this system may take like a 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds longer, but it makes you think. You can no longer sit there inside of a gunfight and just pop a heal, immediately and get that status of that healing effect. You have to think smarter. You have to know when to engage and disengage the fight. So that makes you have to think about it and be more tactically sound in your approaches when it comes to PvP. Use the surroundings around you, use the cover to your advantage, and also use the cover for a disadvantage to other players. So that way you're able to sneak into cover and be much more efficient and easier to repair your armor plating. And not just along that, if your drone, such as you have the fixer, it starts healing and replenishing your armor slowly. And what I've noticed in the beta, that the more skill power you have, the faster regeneration of that. But if it's down, then that's when these armor kits will more or less come in handy. But also keep in mind that not a lot of content creators hit on the fact that, let's say your fixer drone is down, and a teammate that's such as using a marksman rifle or a rifle is a little back further from the fight and don't have to necessarily have to worry about getting rushed as quickly, and he has a drone, he can easily pinpoint you, send his drone over to you to also help replenish your armor if yours is down. So again, squad-based tactical mindset is going to be needed. And not many people actually put that much thought when playing, more or less the game and going over their PvP insight and reviews. So keep that in mind. There are skills that not only for yourself, but just as Division 1, that can affect other members of your group. Send your drone over to them, help, replenish their armor, so on and so forth. You can have, a buddy of mine, shout out to Tommy, I had a drone up, and I was up in the forefront, and this was PvE, inside the DZ also, and PvP, where he sent me his drone as well, because, on the build I particularly was using, I was straight out just DPSing, and if you've seen those gameplay videos, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, he sent his drone over to me to help further repair my armor, so that way I can stay engaged into the fight and didn't have to disengage the fight and retreat back to cover in order to fully repair my armor before I hop back into action. So that is one thing you have to keep in mind. It may seem a little slower, but in essence, a second or two does make the difference. But yet, if you think about it, if you're standing out in the open trying to get instant heals, that is not common sense gaming. Usually, if you want more realism or more tactically sounded first person or third person shooters, then this is common sense that it would tell you to retreat or get into cover, disengage the enemy to replenish and restore your health or armor in this case. We just gotten accustomed to the way the broken system was in Division 1 as far as the instant heal factor. And tactically, that is not more or less common sense tactical gaming. I actually like the way it is. Yes, it can still be improved upon, but as it sits right now, I am thoroughly happy with it. And this line of thinking when it comes to having to disengage the enemy in PvP and in PvE fights goes along in tandem with their initiative to make Division 2 the way the Division 1 was intended to be, and that is a more tactical, cover-based shooter. So keep that in mind. It will be no more phase tanking. As you've seen in my videos of the beta, and also even devs commented on this, that trying to face tank and rush in, that players, agents will be severely punished for this. And I witnessed that firsthand. I mowed down quite a few that still had the Division 1 mindset and didn't think of, the similar changes, because, that's what they were used to, and tried to immediately just rush in with no cover in the wide open and try to rush agents that, were fortified in cover and knew the situation and knew their surroundings. And they took advantage of them. They mowed them down as they were pressing them. So that will go hand in hand with the new movement system. No more chicken dance. No more of that hard left, right, left, right, left, right, bobbing and weaving just so, a six-piece nomad can just, waltz right in there and more or less face tank for agents. That kind of cheese is going to be gone. But you can still stray from left to right in a fight. You just have to be more thought-provoking when it comes into engaging agents. So, yeah, it's different, but is it a bad different? No, not by any means. It's just that. It is just a different philosophy and more or less a fix to the cheese from Division 1. So that is key and that is important. It may seem slower, and it is to an extent just because I'm a day one player from Division 1. And yes, as far as the movement and the left, right, bobbing and weaving, chicken dance coming into people got accustomed and are used to that. So of course, when you switch it up, just because it has the same name, there's similarities in it, as far as between the comparison of Division 1 and Division 2, you just have to adapt. But, too many people are already crying about, oh, I hate the movement system. It seems too slow, too clunky. Yes, it still needs some tweaks, such as when you're running straight ahead and there's such as like a tree in front of you, that'll automatically move you to the left and to the right of that tree. Instead of just running straight up to it and, being able to use it for cover and post up on it. I can see where that can become an issue or a problem, but I'm pretty sure they will fix that because I and many others have presented that thought and our reasoning behind that. So keep in mind also that as we progress further and further along, and as we anticipate the full game, that during all this time they're taking every feedback, everything reported from the beta into consideration and tweaking and fixing as we go. That's why I also say that they will probably definitely be an open beta. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure there will be. Also, moving on, just like in Division 1, aim is going to be key. If you are a terrible aim and you have no aim, pretty much, you can't really beam anything, then basically you're going to need that cover. But see, in Division 1, if you are running the Nomad, it's more forgiving and would still allow you to miss quite a lot of shots, but through all the cheese and the procs, you were able to still hang with better agents. So yes, there is a lower skill gap and bridge in Division 1 than Division 2, but it's not so far apart. Good players are still going to be better than bad players. But if you are, good player more or less in your aiming skills, but you are bad at more or less tactical decisions and using cover and just think that, you're Billy Badass and just walk in there and mow everyone down, and a bad, casual player is utilizing the cover system, then you're going to get punished for that. And in that case, in that situation, that's where the gap is so small. Just because you are better, you're an aim god more or less, but the other one is, smarter thinking on his feet, more tactically sound, and uses the environment to his advantage, then it's a much more even playing field. And as, you more or less play the game more and more, you're going to get used to it, and just like in Division 1, you're going to pretty much master it, but if not master it, then you're going to at least get better at it the more and more you play, just as it is with any game. Now, as you can see on screen, these are the attachments that, and with these attachments, I'm happy at the place that they're going to be. you're going to actually have to think about things when it comes to your builds and the attachments that you use. But since every particular weapon is viable and can be used, then that is going to generate more thought into it, because there are pluses and there are negatives. Some give you more stability, but then you lose crit damage. Some give you better accuracy, optimal range, but you might lose crit chance, crit damage, and things of that nature. So you're really going to have to really think about it. And one thing I noticed that in the level 30 characters on in-game, like the laser sights gave like plus 20% crit hit chance or something along that. And others, underbarrels and things of that, reduced the crit hit chance as far as things such as like optimal range. And so it basically is going to depend on your aim, if you can control recoil, just as in Division 1, such as like with the LVOAC or anything with a really high recoil. And that just goes along hand in hand with everything that they're trying to do. It's Division 2, I promise you, is moving in a lot better direction than Division 1 is. The only concern, and I don't really think it's a concern because I think they learned from their mistakes as far as the classifieds. They had this new 3 brand set where just one piece gives you 1, 2 gives you 2, 3 gives you 3. You no longer have to have 3 in order to have those brand set talents unlocked. So you can just, like I was basically using my build videos you can check out, just using one piece, the Ferris AB chest piece, just because that one piece gave me 10% AR damage. And like I said previously, that each brand set is geared to a particular weapon type, which is I really enjoy and think that's moving in the right direction. You can check out the build videos to get more or less a crash course. I know that some have commented and say, well, it's way too soon to be putting out a build video. You're just level 7. Okay, when the full game launches, you're going to be at no level and going to have to work your way up. So I looked at it as it's more or less a crash course in what to expect. And all the way up through level 7, the brand sets doesn't change, just the level increases. So you're getting a firm crash course on what to expect and what to more or less go around and how to build when going through the PvE, leveling up your character. And, you know, the stats as far as what the brand sets is going to give is going to stay the same. Just the values of those sets are just going to be increased with as far as the attributes and things that are listed outside of what the base stats give you. It's like that Ferris AB chest. That one piece did give me 10% AR damage, but then as an attribute in the blow, it had like harden, gave me plus 10% armor, and then hard hitting, it additionally gave me 15% damage to elites. So I thought that was really cool. And it worked out great when fighting NPCs and agents simultaneously. And that brings me to another point when it comes to the PvP, just as in Division 1, how people use the NPCs to their advantage. If you're fighting in a landmark or roaming NPCs, whether you're rogue or about to fight rogues, such as if they're running, then you can more or less pin them in between you and the NPCs, and the NPCs do hit pretty hard. And that's just, one of the hazards of going in the Dark Zone. So you also, I look at NPCs as another environmental advantage or disadvantage, depending on which side of the coin you're on. So yes, to sum it all up, I like the direction it's going. Is there a few kinks and bugs? Yes. Are they currently being worked on, looked at? And the answer is yes. Everything that was submitted bug-wise, glitch-wise, they are already working on it. That's why they put out 2 patches during the beta to try to help fix some things that was a major concern, and other things, it was going to take a little more time, but yet they are currently still doing that. So hold all your, I guess, you hate Division 2, you hate the more or less the armor plates versus the healing, the instant healing from Division 1, and you have your doubts about planning just because, if we looked at every single game with that aspect, well, it's different, it's not what I'm used to, then you'll never play another new game again, because that's what makes everything fresh and different, and that's what makes gaming evolve. But you yourself have to choose whether you want to adapt or do you want to stay left behind in an old system. So just hold all the negativity as far as just bashing the game until the full game launches. We've been through hell and back when it comes to Division 1, but there's just something about it that brings and draws you back into it. And all the dedicated hardcore fans that's been there through thick and thin, I guarantee it's not going to be nowhere as bad as Division 1 is in its, weakest moments. Because there's still tons and thousands of players still playing it, and this is going to be a lot better. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Ground and pound that like and subscribe button, and be sure to leave me a comment. Thank you guys. We'll see you pudging later.